but we're pretending. This is Atari's new licensed gaming handheld coming out. It's called the Game Station Go. I think they revealed it earlier in the year last year, but it had not officially come out yet. There was like mock-ups and prototypes, but this is like the official one. And they're going to be showing it at CES 2025, which is in 3 days from today. I'm bad at putting YouTube videos up in time, but I'll try to get this one out before CES so that I'm not late to the party. And then I'll also be reacting to the actual official conference if they put the conference on YouTube, because I want to know more about this. I have a gaming PC handheld, so I'm looking at something also more like retro. And surely 100% this is going to run all the old Atari games. That's what it's made for, right? But I'm almost certain as well that if I see a second SD card slot, that they'll be using a standard off-the-shelf Linux distribution type chip, like something that will work with Linux or Android, that you can also use to sideload other emulators. And that would be awesome, because emulation is something I've never really looked into or done. And having something like this with all of these additional controls on the screen and being very large seems like the kind of device that I would want to use if I'm going to try to get into retro game and emulation, right? So let's take a look at it. The video itself is only a minute and a half, but there's an article after that we're going to be reading. Holy shit, this is loud. Holy shit, this is still loud. Better chat room. Twitter videos have terrible video compression. It looks kind of bad. I think that's 4 buttons on the top. Start, select, credit, and settings. 2 USB-C A ports. Oh, we'll just let it all rock first before I start looking at everything on it. My bad. Sorry. Brain. Volume rocker. HDMI out. My, analysis brain doesn't want to just look at it and be like, ooh, pretty device, but damn, it's so nice. Look at this. Oh, that looks so good. And they put it on the stand. Oh my gosh, look at it. Dude, this is so pretty. It's licensed, right? As you see here, it says My Arcade. My Arcade is the name of the company that makes a lot of these old school, retro handheld consoles. They usually only have 1 or 2 games in them, right? There was a Mega Man collection one a long time ago, a Pac-Man one, a Miss Pac-Man one, an Atari collection, a Namco Museum one, and a couple others, like a Tetris one. There's been a few My Arcade ones, and My Arcade has been doing this long enough that hopefully it means that they've probably been able to perfect their formula, because some of them have not been great ROMs. They've been really low quality ROMs that don't feel like they're worth the price, especially because some of those handhelds were reaching up to $30 and $40. But this one, yeah, ridiculous ass music, RuneScape Trap remixes, yeah, this looks really good. Now I kind of want to go over everything on the device because there's a lot of fucking controls here. I don't know if you guys see this. It has a D-pad, an analog stick, a fucking trackball, because you need a trackball for some older Atari games, 4 menu buttons, settings, probably to get into emulation, settings, credit, which is probably how you add extra credits to the games, select and start. I can't tell what size this is, but for the life of me, I don't think this is a small screen, because that guy's hand looked like relatively normal size, like a full grown ass man, 5'8" to 6 foot. So he's probably got a decent sized hand. It looked like he was holding it almost the same size as something like a Steam Deck. So I'm hoping that this is a 6.8 inch, 7 inch, or 8 inch screen. Doubt it's 8 inch. That's something like Legion Go type screen. That's pretty big. So hopefully this is at least a 6 to a 7 inch screen, because it'd be weird for it to not have that. It has the full ABXY face buttons, and it also has the number pad in reverse order. It doesn't have it in the normal order for number pad notation for you fucking anime loving fighting game freaks. This is just 1, 2, 3. Anyways, number pad not flipped around. LBRB or L1R1, L2R2, really good. Up at the top, a volume rocker. I think we also saw. What did I see up at the top? Some Atari models had numbers on their joypads. Oh god, see that I didn't know. A volume rocker. I'm trying to see all the extra controls now that we've looked at the main body. I also see controller outs. These are controller output, right? So that means this screen's probably big enough that you can use it to play local multiplayer in the old Atari games. player 1, player 2, right? And maybe they'll have controllers that are natively supported, or maybe this will just run some sort of an Android or Linux backend so that it uses any standard type D or X input styled controller. It also has, I wonder if looks alone, a power button, a home button up at the top. So if you were wondering, wait, how's there a settings and how's there 4 buttons on the front and there's no home button? It's up at the top. So there's 5 auxiliary buttons altogether. I also see a micro SD card slot, and this is what interests me the most. The reason why this micro SD card interests me is because why would they put a micro SD card slot on here if it's going to be loaded with ROMs and you're not allowed to add extra? That means you're going to be able to sideload your own ROMs. I don't know if this is going to be old enough. I mean, strong enough to play anything outside of, old NES, Super NES, maybe even original Genesis, or if it'll go all the way up to something like PS2 and GameCube and original Xbox emulation. I'm not sure, but it has the controls to play most of these games, right? Trackball and analog stick being on the same side means that you probably won't be playing any twin stick style shooters or twin stick controlled games, but everything on the N64 should be playable. Everything on the original PlayStation would probably no, because the DualShock existed during the original PlayStation. Anything that was 2D or only required D-pad on the original PlayStation should be playable. NES, SNES, and Genesis all should be playable on a device like this. It looks like there's more than enough controls to accommodate for the systems. And with that micro SD card slot, sorry for pausing so much. With that micro SD card slot, it seems like if you can sideload ROMs, if the chip is strong enough, we should be able to do it. Here we see the volume rocker or volume buttons up and down. It also has, thank God for gaming handhelds not going the way of smartphones. I really miss headphone jacks on my fucking smartphone. Like, I don't know, being a baby, like I don't even have wired headsets that I'm going to use with the smartphone. Like I'm not going to use my fucking streaming headset with my smartphone. But man, would I really like to just be able to use a regular pair of headphones on my phone sometimes instead of having to use Bluetooth ones. And this has a headphone jack, which is standard with most of the PC gaming handhelds, but it's not so standard with the emulation handhelds. Some emulation handhelds do not have a headphone jack. We don't know how strong or good these speakers are. You want to know if it looks alone? It does look really sleek. HDMI output, which because I see the fact that it has inputs for controllers, makes me a little weary that the Dreamcast would be more of a possibility if it didn't have a red analog stick. Yeah. If it has a small screen, at least there's HDMI out directly built into the device, because that means you don't need a dongle or a dock. You just straight up put this looks like a full-size HDMI. I don't know if you guys have seen mini HDMI, micro HDMI. They're very small. This looks like a full-size HDMI out. So that's good. It's not proprietary. It's standard. It's not some weird cable you need to order, because, I mean, I'm sure everyone has a fucking extra HDMI laying around. I have a 30-foot one under my couch. Volume buttons actually stick up pretty high, too. ABXY in the Xbox layout, not the Nintendo layout. Let's go. And there it is once again. Now we can see the full thing again. I have one gripe. But, I mean, now that I see the bottom of it, I understand. So, whenever I think of, like, a device like this that has the bezel or whatever for where they put whatever game console it is. Game Boy Advance. You say Game Boy Advance at the bottom. Game Boy said Game Boy at the bottom. This is Atari at the top, but now that I see the My Arcade thing, My Arcade is the company that makes it, so they put My Arcade at the bottom and Atari at the top. But also means that that's a real big bezel. That's a big bezel. But I mean, retro games, right? Yeah, My Arcade at the bottom, Atari at the top. You can see the speakers here as well. Front-firing speakers. Maybe my camera's in the way. Maybe. I can't move my camera for some reason. I'm trying to move my camera, but it's not letting me. They are on the sides of the My Arcade. I'm sure you can see the one over here. Maybe I can move my... I can't move my mouse. You guys can't see my mouse with display capture. I mean with output. There we go. Now you can see my mouse. Right here. It was using window capture. Window capture doesn't let me show my mouse. But there is the other one. And the other one is on the other side of my head, about right here. You can't really see it. But I couldn't move my camera for some ungodly reason. I don't know why. Very pretty device. Very nice looking. All the auxiliary buttons that you would need. Tons of UI for retro gaming. Turning on the power button here. I wanted to wait to see this. Look at that. Wow. RGB or backlit. I'm going to say backlit. Surely this isn't going to be multicolor, it's probably just going to be orange to match with the Atari, right? That makes sense. Nice, very nice. And there's an article that coincides with this that now we can go ahead and pull up. We can get that pulled up. So now I can go Atari's Game Station article, put this back over here. Oop. Oh, I did that wrong. I was supposed to drag the whole thing. Oh no, I messed up. I need to drag this whole thing? Pretending I'm a real streamer, like I said. So now we can read this article while going back to just doing regular RuneScape things so that we're not... You guys are ADHD, right? You guys have to have multiple things on screen? I can... Oops. I tried to move the window capture. I'm going to shrink it up a little bit so that you guys can still see camera, even though you don't need to. So, Atari has teased a re-reveal of its upcoming handheld console at CES 2025 next week, or this week now. In a tweet below, Atari showed off the Game Station Go device, a portable video game player with extra buttons and a wide screen. While the Game Station Go comes complete with the D-pad, face buttons, shoulder buttons you'd expect on a retro handheld. What makes this interesting is the trackball and paddle on the left and the keypad on the right. That is good because that makes these older games that exist on the Atari that had all sorts of crazy, wacky controls extremely easy to control. That's good. An icon reimagined. My arcade retro. With little else to go off at this stage, the Game Station Go seems like the final design product Atari revealed a year ago. At the time, the handheld was called the Atari Portable Game Station Portable, and was due the fourth quarter of 2024. So now it's being moved to 2025 at a price of $149. I'm gonna be quite honest. $149 seems really reasonable. If it still comes out at $149, if it comes out at like $169, I'm jumping on this, bro. $149 is super reasonable. I did not know what the price was going to be. I had no idea. That seems very competitive. With like retro gaming handhelds, we need to know the chipset though. The Atari trackball is commonly used in arcade classics including Centipede and Missile Command, with the paddle used for games like Breakout. Atari games such as Brain Games and Codebreaker use the keypad. The My Arcade logo on the bottom of the device, which confirms it is a product under the official license from Atari. You'd expect the Game Station Go to play a long list of retro games bolstered by Atari's recent acquisition of Intellivision brand and certain games from the Intellivision Entertainment LLC. The purchase included the rights to more than 200 titles from the Intellivision portfolio and the Intellivision trademarks. That's all we have for now. Expect more when CES 2025 kicks off January 7th. They're showing this January 8th, so we won't see it the first day. But man, this is a doozy. This is awesome. Especially if it comes out under $200, I'm happy about this device. Go ahead and take that off the screen completely. Maybe I'll pull back up the video and just have it sitting up on the screen with just the ending. You can see the device again. Okay, we found the end of the video. Now I can full screen the... Oh, shit. Fucked up. Maybe I didn't. Let's see. There we go. Oh, that's huge. Oh, Lord, she's huge. Let's move that. This does look like a very big device, though, is the part that I think is really cool. Like, I love that this device looks so big. That makes me happy, because I don't really want a super small retro gaming handheld. I want something big like this that really fits in an adult's hands, because a lot of their older systems are very small because they're meant for, like, really fast casual play and like teaching and showing kids the old games that you shout out to Pong, Cinebreed, Breakout. Yeah, I'd buy one for me and my mom. She can play all the old shit she grew up with. Like, my mom wasn't a big time gamer, so I don't really have to worry about that. My mom liked games like Brain Age on the Nintendo DS and Professor Layton, Ace Attorney. I don't know why my mom liked Professor Layton and Ace Attorney, but she did. So I don't really have to worry about that. But I do think that this is really cool because those games were slightly before my time. Those games, it was a Bejeweled gamer. Hell yeah. Those games were slightly before my time. I'm only 30, right? So these are the very beginnings of video games that, without going back and using retro emulation or actually playing on original hardware, I'm never really going to experience these games in some form or facet that is reasonable, that isn't shitty. Because a lot of the old retro handhelds that aren't licensed, that have existed with some of these IPs in them, they're ass. They're awful, or the controls are really bad, and they don't have a wide variety of the game collections because they don't have all the controls necessary. They don't have the trackball. They don't have the paddle. They don't have the keypad. Right now, they have all of these things, which means that any game that probably exists on an Atari system or maybe even in television now will work with this device. So they have a huge catalog, a huge backlog of games that you're going to be able to play on a device like this, even without the micro SD card slot for expansion and potentially playing other older games that will work with this hardware and these controls. You have a huge catalog of games that should be playable on this device already. And at under $200, if it stays under $200, I can't see how this isn't recommended. Right now, we just need to know the chipset, the operating system, the quality of the screen, and the quality of the speakers. That's it. I don't even really care about battery. Like, don't fucking come at me with battery life. If people are like, oh, the battery life should be horrible like the original Steam Deck, I don't care. I am a grown-ass man. I'm almost always around a power outlet. I can just plug it in when the battery gets low. If it lasts for an hour and a half, I'm good. I'm chilling. I'm not a child who's trying to play in a bathroom while taking a shit for 3 hours. Okay, I'm faster than that. My shits are like 10 minutes max. I'm good. I got more than enough time. And at work, once again, around a power outlet. When I'm at home, around a power outlet. When I'm out and about, I can find one, or I can just wait to play later. But while I'm waiting in line at a grocery store, while I'm cashing my paycheck, things like that, I'll be able to play something like this while waiting in line. That's really cool. 3-hour-long shits? Hey, man. I think people doom scroll when they take a shit, so I don't always assume that they're on the toilet actually pooping for that long. Like, they just end up scrolling through social media, then forgetting how long the time has passed. It's like, what the fuck, are you okay? But this device looks really clean, and if it's under $200, if it's $150, like they say in the article, because it was due last year and we're not seeing it until now. If it's coming out right after CES and it's at that $150 or at least under, all I can pray is that it stays under $200. I'm picking this shit up. And I will be showing it off on the channel, maybe doing a review of it, talking about the games that come in it, learning if you can sideload games and what the front end and the actual operating system are running on. Hopefully all those things are revealed at CES. My arcade usually doesn't have a front end, a back end that is modular, that you can change. But with that micro SD card slot, it kind of makes me think there will be. Or they'll be selling micro SD cards that already have preloaded extra games on them to get you to buy additional games. I mean, that would be kind of shitty, but it would at least be a way to expand the games that exist on it, right? That would be at least something. So I'm hoping to see good things out of this device. I'm hoping it's as good as I think it's going to be. Off aesthetics alone, I'm already excited, but there's a few questions left unanswered, and we find out later this week at CES 2025.